OECS is an international organization dedicated to economic harmonization and integration, protection of human and legal rights, and the encouragement of good governance among independent and non-independent countries in Eastern Caribbean. The OECS provides a mechanism for newly independent member states to play an active role in the international stage through several joint missions that have been made. OECS was established on June 18, 1981 when 7 countries from the Eastern Caribbean signed a treaty agreeing to cooperate with one another while promoting unity and solidarity among its member countries. The 7 founding members are Antigua and Barbuda, Commonwealth of Dominica, Grenada, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. The treaty became known as the Treaty of Mesa Yunitira, named in honor of capital city of St. Kitts and Nevis, where it was signed. This is the member of OECS. After the collapse of West Indies Federation, 2 governing bodies were formed, Mesa and CCM. They realized the need for formal arrangements to assist their country's development efforts, which was why the OECS was established. Close historical, cultural, and economic relationship fostered by British colonial heritage of the majority of the islands is as much a factor in their membership of the OECS as their geographical proximity. The OECS was also established to become an umbrella body for a number of pre-existing institutions such as Eastern Caribbean Currency, Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, and Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. Now I'm going to tell you a brief history of OECS. 1962, Federation of the West Indies consisting of Commonwealth regions except the Bahamas, Belize, and Guyana dissolved after 4 years of existing, following a referendum in which Jamaica chose to quit the Federation. In August 1962, Jamaica, Trinidad, and Tobago each gained independence from Britain. In 1966, Little Eight talks end in failure. Barbados gained its own independence and decides to not participate with Eastern Caribbean neighbors in the Little Eight group. At the 11th meeting of the Regional Council of Ministers in Barbados, representatives of windwards and leawards agreed to form a new organization known as the West Indies Associated State Council of Ministers, officially established and based in St. Lucia in September 1967. In 1968, all former members of the West Indies Federation, together with Guyana, ventured a new regional grouping that regulates free trade, known as tsabitah, Caribbean Free Trade Association. This council also established a number of related institutions which later formed the foundation or basis for functional cooperation network of the OECS. Windwards and Leewards Islands decided to form their own economic integration grouping as a negotiation and defense mechanism in tsabitah. This happened because they were not in a good position to benefit from tsabitah. In 1968, the Visa Council established a CCM whose secretariat is based in Antigua and Barbuda. In 1974, Grenada gained independence from Britain. In 1979, the report on joint overseas representation recommended that the Visa Council and ACCM be merged into a new organization whose purpose is cooperation and harmonization of policy in foreign affairs, economic affairs, defense and security, and other functional services. 1981, the representative of the government of Visa Council signed the Treaty of Mesa Yunitira on June 18, 1981, where this agreement officially established the successor of the Council, the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. The major purposes of the organization were declared in Article 3.
This is the logo of OECS, and this is the map of OECS member. There are 5 functions of the OECS, the first one being intergovernment regional organizations, economic harmonization and integration, protection of human and legal rights of OECS citizens, encouragement of good governance between countries and territories in the Eastern Caribbean, and in the situation of natural disaster, distributing liability and responsibility for recovery among the various nations and dependency of the Eastern Caribbean. OECS was created on 18 June 1981 with the Treaty of Mesa Yunitira, which was named after the capital of the city of St. Kitts and Nevis. It is the successor of West Indies Association of States, and it is one prominent function is accelerate the pace of transnational integration among its member states. All of the members of OECS except for Martinique are either full or associate member of the Caribbean community and is a part of CARICOM single market and economy. OECS currently has 11 members which all come from the same region, and associate members are treated as equals or full members. OECS is administered by a central secretariat located on Castilla, St. Lucia, and is led by a Director General. OECS has few organs. The first is OECS Authority. It is the comprised of head government from each nation, and it has Economic Affairs Council, which is in charge of economic union, and there are Council of Ministers. Council of Ministers is minister from each of the nation, and there are OECS Assembly, where delegates from each nation came and discuss issues, and there are OECS Commission, the administrative arm of the OECS responsible for supporting and facilitating the work of organs of OECS integration. Here is the structure of the OECS. OECS have few organizational bodies. The first one is Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, which regulate the Eastern Caribbean dollar, which is shared by all the nations of OECS. And there are also Supreme Court that is shared together by all the nations. The Supreme Court name is the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, is the High Court and the Court of Appeal. It is two-part court, and there are also other regional organizational bodies, including Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority. OECS have some past initiative before. The first one is OECS Passport, but is ultimately abandoned and replacement to CARICOM Passport. There are also have military support unit known as Regional Security System, and they are also have pharmaceutical procurement service known as Eastern Caribbean Drug Service, and they also have two foreign representatives abroad. The first one is in Belgium, in charge of European Union, and the second one in Switzerland, in charge of WTO. This is the picture of OECS Secretariat, and this is the OECS Director General throughout the years. This is the current one, Mr. Didacus Jules, and this is all the representatives from the nations of OECS. OECS also initiated an economic union, first spoken at July 2001 at the 35th meeting of the authority. It is going to be implemented in 2-year periods, but it meets some stumble along the way. Finally, the new OECS Economic Union Treaty was spoken at the 43rd OECS meeting, and at the revised Treaty of Basseterre was spoken on 18 June 2010 at the 51st meeting of the authority. And finally, the newest target was put on January 21, 2011. Today I am going to explain on revised Treaty of Basseterre establishing the organizations of Eastern Caribbean States Economic Union. The intended purpose was to create a single financial and economic space within which goods, people, and capital move freely. Monetary fiscal policies are harmonized, and countries continue to adopt a common approach to trade, healthy education, and environment, as well as development of such critical sectors such as agriculture, tourism, and energy. It was introduced at the legislative competence at regional level, and it has some provisions that all the country needs to meet, and also some of these provisions would already have been covered by extent of the CSME, but it was finally agreed upon which point should be implemented and which point should not. The OECS Economic Union Treaty would be recognized under the revised Treaty of Siguaramas. This is a Venn diagram showing the relations of the OECS country with other regional integration within the region.
I'm going to talk about the current issue of OECS. First, they're still open for membership. To achieve its goal, OECS still accepts the same fish and neighboring countries to join the organization. The most recent one is the Caribbean island of Guadeloupe. The overseas region of France in the Caribbean is officially be an associate member of OECS on March 14, 2019. OECS Chairman and Prime Minister of Saint Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Jean-Ralph Gonsalves, said the accession of the French territory was a momentous occasion in the life of the OECS. Second is Geothermal Energy Roundtable. Based on OECS strategic objective number 1, which is regional integration, a major gathering of regional and global geothermal experts is convened in St. Lucia to chart the way forward to transform the energy landscape of OECS to deliver lower energy prices, reduces the costly dependence of imported fossil fuels, and enhance the region's effort at climate change mitigation. The event that was held on December 6, 2018 is in partnership with the International Geothermal Association and the World Bank. Why? The Caribbean is blessed with some locked beaches, calm coastal waters, and laid-back fun. But beneath its serene shore life lies a vast and largely unexplored sources of low-carbon energy. Geothermal energy potential across the Caribbean's 700 or so islands, islets, reefs, and cays is significant, but effort is far from easy to make the goals come true due to the high exploration costs and corresponding lack of investment certainty. That is why OECS with their partners decided to hold the workshop. Third one is Juvenile Justice Reform Project. It's a memorandum of understanding signaling their continued commitment to successful rehabilitation and reintegration of
at-risk youth and those in conflict with the law across the region. DGP itself is a justice reform program partnered with USAID. This program will continue to introduce and implement a number of reform measures that taken together will end result more modernized system of youth justice in the Caribbean region. GGP itself is a youth-centered program, so reducing crime and violence among the youth in the Caribbean is a high priority activity for this program. Caribbean country itself has a few underlying problems that should be handled immediately. To address these challenges, this program is investing in activities that support the use of several evidence-based interventions on crime and violence. The first is community-based crime and violence prevention programs, and the second one is improvement of juvenile justice system addressing the management of youth in conflict with the law. USAID or OECS development objective is to reduce youth involvement in crime and violence in target communities of Eastern and Southern Caribbean. Fourth is aquaponics. OECS faced an unacceptably high food import bill. The region also faced an unprecedented opportunity to lead the way in aquaponics, which means 90% less in water than algae culture, but has more potential to generate 3 to 4 times more food than the latter. The Honduras Minister of Agriculture, Antigua and Barbuda, and Mr. Jediah Maxim, Director of the Ministry of Agriculture, Lands, Fisheries, and Barbuda Affairs, on the recent visit to Choiseul Aquaponics Facility and Mobile Destination Plant in Labors in St. Lucia, said these new methods could be potential to reduce the food import bill of OECS countries. The last one is blue economy, which is a sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improved livelihoods, jobs, and ocean ecosystem health, which encompass many activities with like renewable energy, fisheries, maritime transport, waste management, climate change, and tourism. OECS has taken a first step to enabling the transition to a blue economy through the adoption of the Eastern Caribbean Regional Ocean Policy, or ECROP, and its Strategic Action Plan, ECROP's SAP, endorsed by the OECS as government in 2013. The ECROP guides future use of the region's marine waters and provides a basis to enhance coordination and management of ocean resources within the Eastern Caribbean. Notably, the ECROP is the first of its kind in the Caribbean region.
Cooperation with other states and trading blocks. Like other trading blocks, the USCS also cooperate with other actors such as state and other trading blocks to achieve their goals. The USCS made their strategic goals consisting of 5 strategic objectives to enhance the economic growth, social inclusion, and also environmental protection. The 5 strategic objectives are regional integration, resilience, social equity, foreign policy, and high-performing organization. The OECS also follows the Sustainable Development Goals set by the United Nations, and together with the development partners aim to achieve the 17 outcomes of global goals. Development partners in OECS work closely through a number of bilateral and multilateral agreements to advance the development agenda for the Eastern Caribbean region. Through a strong and sustainable development assistance framework, the strategic goals of the OECS Commission are being supported to drive for better economic and social outcomes for the citizens of the OECS. These development partners include the United Nations, International Labour Organization, World Bank, International Organization of Migration, International Trade Center, and other organizations. One of the cooperation that has been held was between OECS and Morocco. The TWIX meeting conducted on December 2018 discussed about the development of capacity building, mainly tourism and agriculture. The tourism capacity building program is focused on exposing participants to the Moroccan tourism experience, in particular the country's national tourism development strategy. While the agricultural capacity building focuses on exposing the participants to the Green Moroccan Plan, a highly successful agricultural development strategy being implemented by the country since 2008, participants were of the view that the both programs succeeded in meeting after subjective of contributing to essential capacity in OECS member states. They were able to view that the bonds of friendship and cooperation between the OECS and Morocco significantly deepened after the result. This cooperation aligns with OECS Strategic Objective Number 2, Resilience, and OECS Strategic Objective Number 4, Alignment of Foreign Policy of Member States. The challenges are mobilizing the society towards common and shared core values and other attitudes to the productive and carry to the work harmonized to achieve common causes and goals, achieving much greater efficiency in the management of public sector, enhancing considerably the efficiency of investment, mobilizing more long-term saving and making much better use of what is mobilized, and removing the use of the debilitating debt overhead and creating an environment where it will not recur.